Welcome, my friends. I know this is no secret to you, but society isn't set up for your success. If you're strong, lean, healthy, and fit, you are in the minority of our society. In fact, since the pandemic, we have seen statistically significant rises in obesity and a major decline in overall mental health. As leaders, you know that your energy, your passion, and your presence provide powerful indicators of influence. Your ability to show up in your most vibrant and authentic way become the determining factor in your long-term success. I don't want you sidelined by pain, suffering in silence, or sluggishly moving through life, wondering if this is what you are destined to look and feel like. So, welcome to Drop Fat, Pick Up Energy, and Craft Confidence, the executive's guide to building the presence of a powerful leader. Recently, I sat down with best-selling author and renowned speaker John G. Mellor. John, what can people do to become better leaders? Steve, he said, the best way to influence others, take accountability for yourself. Well, society isn't set up for your success. The framework of the discussion today will be around this powerful principle of personal accountability. But before we go further, I want you to do just a short visualization with me. I call this my evolved question. And this is really the 10-year question. Imagine, if you will, yourself 10 years from now. How do you want to look, feel, and move? Why 10 years? Because if you're here today, you know the power of compounding. You know that the best day to start investing is yesterday, and the second day is today. Now, when we take a long view of investing in ourselves, we make more evolved decisions about how we show up today. So, how do you want to look, feel, and move 10 years from now? If you need to, pause this recording and jot that down. Maybe you've already done this and you've got a clear picture, but it's important that before we move forward, you've got a clear idea of what your 10-year self wants to look like, feel like, and how you want to move. Now, this is a question I asked one of my clients, Todd, who, as a 55-year-old father and grandfather, he had identified that he wants to be seen as the dad and the grandpa that continually challenges himself. As a recognized expert in his industry and an accomplished podcaster and speaker, he wants to live what he teaches. As an international speaker of over 30 years, he recently told me that after about 4 months of coaching together, quote, I just did the best speech of my life. I couldn't believe how I felt. I've been speaking for decades to groups, and I've never felt more powerful. I'm standing taller. I have more energy. And when I look down, I feel so great about how my arms look when I'm on stage. Now, whether you lead thousands on stage or a few in your business, your church, or your family life, we all communicate as leaders using the 3 V's of communication: visual, verbal, and voice. It's been shown that over 70% of communication comes from the visual. Read any book or article on the subject and you'll hear, quote, experts discussing how eye contact, your hand movements, and your posture make the difference. But there is no more powerful presence than that of a leader in a confident, fit body. Strong, lean, fit, and powerful leaders show up, and their presence precedes them when they feel like they are at their best. But there's more to our outward communication than just what we show others. You see, when we wake up, look in the mirror, and see that we have a body that has been shown love, consistent nurturing, and creative crafting, we begin to show up better for ourselves. And we communicate with others with greater authenticity. As Polonius said to Shakespeare in Shakespeare's Hamlet, this above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the day, the night. Thou canst not be false to any man. When we take care of our greatest gift, our body, we have the powerful presence to take care of and lead others as an impactful servant leader. So, Why are you here? Why are you investing this time in yourself? Well, you know the power of investment and how it ultimately saves time. So you're probably here because you had to stop a diet plan in the past because it eventually got in the way with work or family life. It was simply unsustainable. You lost some pounds, but it didn't look the way that you wanted to. Maybe you have pain, either when you work out or just in daily life, and you wonder if this is what, quote, getting older is supposed to look like. Maybe you lost weight, but you couldn't maintain it. And finally, you've purchased programs, hired trainers, nutritionists in the past, and you've tried to shoehorn their ideas into your life. But like Cinderella's stepsisters, the glass slipper just didn't fit for you. So why should you listen to me? Well, first, like you, a former traveling executive. I worked for a large corporation for about a decade and a half and spent up to 3 weeks a month on the road at times. I know what it's like to be a husband, a father, and a traveling executive. Second, after almost a quarter of a century in the health and fitness and public speaking space, I've coached hundreds of top executives, collegiate, pro, and Olympic athletes to achieve the results that they want in the time that they have available. You see, as a busy executive, you don't have the time that maybe someone else does. And so crafting a solution that's going to work for you and your lifestyle is critical. Finally, I'm an infinitely curious creature who is a former radio talk show host turned podcaster who talks to, learns from, and befriends some of the smartest minds in the business. So I can sift through the information and will deliver you results so you don't have to read everything and try to guess which approach is going to be right for you. Recently, I had a conversation with a business leader who reminded me of why I have the passion to do what I do. He, like me several years ago, was a walking contradiction. I'm healthy as a horse, he said, right after he listed the multitude of medications he was on. I don't care about how I look. It's not about the ego, he continued, right after he finished telling me about his car's plane and the number of boards he was on. On and on he went, walking manifestation of the lies we all tell ourselves. The dissociation we have when things become difficult. You see, I was in his place 10 years ago. I look good from others' perspectives because I'm naturally smaller and I could hide my extra body fat with the right tailored suit. I have a lot of passion, and I was told that my energy was always very high, which hit onto my ever growing anxiety and depression because I moved poorly. I had hip, back, knee, elbow, shoulder pain, not to mention major digestive issues. Embarrassing moments mounted, and I realized that I just couldn't go on like this. There had to be a better way, and I had to stop lying to myself. I realized that while I knew the science of what to do, I was missing some crucial cruxes. Like many business executives, I majored in minor things. I was the guy in charge that got in my own way of my coachability to my ultimate growth and evolution. I tried to take a bad approach and shoehorn it into my lifestyle because I thought that was the right thing to do. And finally, I lived in a state of dissociation and ignored how powerful the developing of my presence, my physical presence, was to my impact as a leader. Now, you're likely here if you have previously tried 12-week programs, buying an equipment or a piece of equipment like a Peloton that has become a great coat hanger or dust collector for you. You've worked with a dietitian or a nutritionist, and you followed a bunch of approved lists and programs that didn't quite fit with your busy lifestyle. Maybe you've also worked with in-person personal trainers, and you've wondered why you're not getting results. And you're probably here because you want to increase your energy in a natural way without taking an abundance of pills, powders, or pokes. You want to balance a healthy lifestyle with the roles and responsibilities that you have, knowing that there is a limit to your capacity when it comes to time and energy. You want to drop fat and keep it off. And finally, you want to get and stay strong, stay out of pain for years to come. Now, for those of you that are here that shouldn't be, I want to make sure that we identify that. And no harm, no foul, no problem. But you're in the wrong place if you believe that you have to get worse with age. If you're looking for another cookie cutter magic diet approach, if you're looking for a quick fix like a pill, poke, powder, or just something to get you feeling a little bit better. And finally, if you have low standards and are okay with being overweight, painful, and unhealthy, you're in the wrong place. Now, one of the questions that I ask people is, are you looking for a short-term solution or a long-term fix? Now, the funny thing is, someone asked me the other day, does anyone ever just tell you that they're looking for a short-term solution? I said, that's a great question. The reason I asked that question is about 20 some odd years ago, I found that if I didn't ask that question, clients would come to me, they'd reach a certain goal, they would move on and come back to me a year or two later because all they were looking for was to get in a little bit of shape for the beach, for the wedding, or whatever it was. And it dawned on me, that's not my type of client. I love working with people who are top performers, who believe that life is one of moving in crescendo towards a more evolved version of themselves. And so for those of you that are here that believe anything that is on this slide, I want to thank you for your time, and we'll talk later. So if you're still here, what are we going to cover today? Well, number one, we're going to talk about how to stop the cycle of weight loss and gain to craft an evolution. Why most short-term fitness programs fail to answer the three most important aspects of long-term success, how you can naturally improve your hormones, sleep better, and maximize your energy while building your body, why choosing one method of working out is hindering your success and blocking you from achieving your goals, and finally, why weight loss itself is a underrated goal, and how we can frame your goals for long-term sustained success. Now, today is the tip of the iceberg. So over the next 40 to 60 minutes, we're going to have some conversation and we're going to talk about a few things. But ultimately, if something resonates with you today, I'm going to encourage you to reach out to see if working together is going to be the right fit for you. Because what I do is about living a life without limits and living a life on your own terms. You see, in a society where everyone is focused on weight loss, constraining, cutting carbs, cutting calories, not drinking cocktails, restrict, restrict, restrict. I want you to live the way you want to. You don't have to eat the latest fad. Think keto, carnivore, clean. I'm not trying to convert you to the church of keto, the church of clean, or whatever else there is out there or will come up. I'm not trying to tell you to take ice baths. You don't have to call people bro and walk around with your arms flailed at your side, tearing your shirt off and growing a beard down to your knees. You don't have to take selfies of yourself at the gym and prove you did the work. You can live your best life, like me and my family in this photo. You see, I go on vacation and do what I want. Sometimes it's my wife and I, and sometimes it's our entire family. But either way, what we do is run, hike, play, and we eat amazing food because what I do is about living and living well. And one of the examples of living well is my client Sterling. You see, here's a man who came to me after having multiple surgeries, had joint pain in his back, hips, shoulders, and knees. And as a 67-year-old who described himself as a man whose joints are cast in concrete and a, quote, retired old fart who just started a new business, he's now busier than ever. 6 months later, he's dropped 15 and a half pounds, or excuse me, 2 months later, 2.5 months later, he's dropped 15 and a half pounds. He's improved his heart health through our zone-based cardio plan. He moves better with less pain and has a daily plan, like you see right here, his fitness hygiene plan that keeps him active, vital, and mobile. And one of the most powerful and impactful things for him is he plays with his grandkids by doing the prescribed workouts together. In fact, the grandkids come over to his house and say, "Grandpa, can we work out with you?" The 67-year-old grandpa, who's now busier than ever with his new business, has dropped fat, become leaner, and has more mobility, more energy, and more vitality than he's had in over 30 years. In fact, recently in a coaching call, he told me, Steve, I know that this is going to sound crazy to most people, but I haven't run in over 30 years. What you've done, what you've taught me, and how you've helped me got me running the other day for the first time in 30 years. So Sterling is one example of a client who's following what I call my Evolve method of total transformation. You see, the Evolve method is built around 3 pillars: the OPF model of nutrition, the Evolve method of movement, and my psychosocial emotional model of consulting. So what is the OPF model and how can it work for you? Well, first, we have to look at why most nutrition plans fail. Number one, they aren't rooted in science. The health and fitness industry and the medical community at large has done more to confuse you than to actually educate you on the science of health, body composition, and how to achieve what you want. Number two, plans are focused more on what you can't eat rather than following the true science. I'm here to tell you my only restrictive rule when I work with my coaching clients is that I ask them not to eat foods that are going to harm them. Now, for me, that's soy. That's my number one thing. I'm allergic to it, and I actively cut it from my intake because of how it negatively affects me. The third reason why nutrition plans fail is the plans don't do an initial assessment to determine your needs prior to prescribing. Number four, they make minor things into major things. Now, if I have to hear one more person say that Gary Breckett told them that a cold plunge would help them to burn fat, I'm going to lose my mind. Programs that major in minor things won't deliver long-term results, no matter how many times you see it posted on the internet. And finally, they like a full, comprehensive plan. I don't work with my clients to, quote, lose weight. My client Sterling, for instance, isn't staying with me until he reaches his weight loss goal. He's staying with me until we maintain his new weight for several months. I know you've lost weight before, and then you've said, now what? Well, that's how I work with my clients. They don't just work with me to lose the weight. They work with me so that we can create a new metabolic set point once they've lost the weight so that they can maintain that weight loss, that new body for life. And finally, most plans are really designed by people who have no life and have disordered eating patterns, and they just are trying to get you to do what they know how to do. I know that sounds harsh, but that is the reality. Most people in the health and fitness space have disordered eating patterns and are trying to get you to join them so that we all feel better about ourselves. If you want lasting results, you have to address the psychosocial, emotional aspects of eating and your lifestyle. You see, most plans assume that you have more time than you do, that you want to meal prep, that you want to do all of the things that the crazy folks do. That's not what's going to lead to long-term success. So let's say that you wanted to get started today on crafting an evolution. What would you do? Well, first, you need to understand what optimum performance fuel means. You see, it's way more than what you think it is. Yes, food is fuel for your body, but it's also fuel for your brain. It's fuel for your soul. It's fuel for everything in your life, your relationships, your connections. It's so much more than just calories, macro and micronutrients. So to get you started, here are 5 things that I would recommend. Number one, set your goals. Your calorie, your macronutrient, protein, fat, carb, and food targets need to be relative to what your goal is. Number two, list what your favorite foods are. These need to be put into your plan. We need to reverse engineer how to keep them as part of the plan. And we'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about what the 6 C's of nutrition are. But if you're cutting out foods that you actually enjoy, I can guarantee you you're setting yourself up for a life of miserable failure. Number 3, get an accurate baseline. I recommend doing this by doing a 7 to 14 day tracking period so that you understand completely and accurately what is going into your body and not just estimating. Most people overestimate or underestimate, depending on what we're talking about relative to food. And number 4, set targets relative to your goal and your need. Number 5, set a year-long plan that includes phases of fat loss, muscle gain, and maintenance. But it also has to include your travel time and your holiday strategies. A plan that doesn't include all of these things is an incomplete plan. Now, the bonus, you need to understand the full picture of the OPF model that I teach. Food consists of 6 C's, and until you learn how each one of them interacts with your life, you will not lead a long-term evolution. So in order to implement the 6 C's, you've got to take the step of moving beyond the binary. Food has no moral value. Again, I'm saying it louder for your mom and the people in the back. You see, because I'm sure your mom or someone else taught you that you had to eat your vegetables because that's what good little boys or good little girls do. Food has no moral value. It's not good or bad. It's not healthy or unhealthy. It simply is. Are there foods with more calories and foods with less? Yes. Are there foods with more nutrients than others? Absolutely. Are there foods that have more toxic chemicals in them than others? 100%. But food is not inherently good or bad, healthy or unhealthy. Food and your relationship to it must become more nuanced if you want to learn how to evolve. So food nutrition and your interaction with it consist of 6 C's. Culture. Think of family, location, community, religion. Food is a cornerstone of many of our interactions in society. And if we don't identify those things, your food plan may not cross culture and keep you in a consistent state of evolution. Number 2 is convenience. Food needs to be something that is convenient and works in your life and your busy lifestyle. Number 3, connection. Whether it's the morning coffee watching the sunrise where you connect with yourself and perhaps a higher power and your own purpose, or a lunch with a loved one where what we ingest is not just the food and the drink, it's the interactions with the people and the world around us. Number 4, food is comfort. Our taste buds and our hormonal responses are set up to crave comfort. Learning how food provides you comfort is a critical step on your path of personal evolution. It's not a bad thing that food provides comfort. However, many people lean into this so that everything else is thrown out of balance. Number 5, food is communication. You want to lose fat and gain muscle? You want to improve your flexibility and fix your digestive issues? You have to learn how to eat to communicate to your cells so that your body responds relative to your goals. You see, if I wake up and eat protein and fat before I get going for the day, I'm priming my brain for optimal performance. I'm communicating to the neurotransmitters that it's time to wake up and work, and I'm giving them the energy that they need in order to communicate with the rest of the cells and give me energy and vitality throughout the day. Finally, food is creativity. It's sad, but in our society, we have moved away from aesthetics. Cars, homes, buildings, and meals are bland and boring looking. Food and how we eat are a beautiful expression of life. Learning how to make sure that there is creativity. And as the old adage goes, you eat first with your eyes. Food can be a creative expression so that you are living a beautiful life of giving to yourself and giving to others. So, how do we pull it all together? Well, first, you set goals and start eating to achieve them. Second, you need to craft an annual plan that details your phases that are important to you. And finally, don't forget to get a baseline. Assess. Don't guess. Now, my bonus tip, please stop spending so much money on supplements and time researching things that just don't work. Or worse, make it difficult to achieve your goals. Sleep, energy, and hormones can be significantly impacted by nutrition and lifestyle much more than they can by supplements. That's not to say I'm opposed to them, but if you're going to take supplements, they need to be supplementary to a lifestyle and a nutrition plan that's right for you. This is what we did with my client Dan in his first 16 weeks. We started by adjusting his food to meet his needs as a type 1 diabetic. Now, during that time, he lost 8 pounds of fat and gained 7 pounds of muscle. And now, this head of marketing eats the foods he loves, which includes donuts, and he's achieved his goals along the way. Not only has he lost fat, gained muscle, but he's balanced out all of the key internal identification markers that he's needed to. Oh, and remember how we talked about before that weight loss is kind of an overrated goal? Think about this. Do the math in your head. If he gained 7 pounds of muscle and he lost 8 pounds of fat, on the scale, it would have showed that he lost 1 pound. You can see in the transformation photo here that in 16 weeks, he made a significant difference in the way that he looked and felt. Weight loss is an overrated goal. After addressing the foundation of nutrition, it's important that we learn how to move to evolve. But first, let's talk about why your workouts are failing you currently. Number one, you aren't training to meet your goals. You're doing some workout that you found on an app for free or that you saw on TikTok or YouTube or wherever else you're researching this stuff. Number two, your workout has the wrong goal attached to it. You might be trying to, quote, burn calories when what you need to do is be focused on building lean tissue. Number three, you're using the wrong exercises and poor form that maybe you learned from well-meaning people who don't understand what proper movement is. Think about Coach Gary in high school who taught you that when you squat, you should look up to the ceiling to keep you in good posture. Please don't do that. And please tell Coach Gary that he doesn't know what he's talking about, and it's only going to lead to neck and back problems over time. And number four, you're just kind of winging it. You don't have a plan that goes from one period or phase to another to take care of your entire body. So how do we get you started? Well, first, we assess rather than guess. You need to know what your current limitations are. How far forward is your head? What is the shoulder height? Is one of them raised higher than another? Where specifically is your tightness and pain coming from? And where are we seeing what we call movement faults, where your body's just not quite functioning? Think wheel out of balance or misalignment on your car. Second, you need to have an annual plan to address your goals, needs, and faults. Now, I know that this is kind of overkill, but I'm just that type of guy. Even if a client signs up with me for 6 months rather than 12 or beyond, I create a 12-month plan for them because I need to know and I need to see what this plan is going to look like relative to their overall goals for 12 months. The annual plan is critical to overall success. Third, you need progression over time through what I call the Milo principle. And finally, you need to train your mind while you train your body. And more on that in another class. But ultimately, you need to understand that there are 3 key modalities to an effective program: resistance training, zone-based cardio, and what I call soft tissue or chassis work. So moving well throughout life requires 3 things. Number 1, resistance training. This is where we build muscle. Think size, shape, tone, however you want to define it. We want to develop your metabolic machinery. We want to keep the organ of longevity, muscle, in its peak performance. We want to develop mobility. There's a concept called you can't shoot a cannon out of a rowboat, which means that if you have an unstable joint, you will only be able to develop strength so much until we can stabilize that joint. And finally, we need to get your pumps working. Now, we tend to think that the only pump in our body is our heart, and that's not the case. When you resistance train, you're getting blood pumping into the muscle and blood pumping out. That's not just I'm pumped up and I feel really good about how tight my muscle is. What happens when the pumps are working is you get better venous return, lymphatic movement, and you become healthier in many ways. Next up is zone-based cardio. We do cardio for improved heart cardio and circulatory vascular health. We're also increasing your lung and your energy performance. Now, finally, we do soft tissue and chassis work, and this is where we're focused on creating supple tissue, improving your mobility. And if there's one thing that you take away from this masterclass and nothing else, remember this: tender tissue is not healthy tissue. Now, I get asked this question a lot when it comes to soft tissue work. So, you mean stretching? No. What I mean is that when we identify where your body is limited, we identify what the body needs. Oftentimes, there are different techniques that we can utilize that are not relative to stretching that muscle to get you moving appropriately. So think of the soft tissue similar to the way that you would think of a chassis on a car or the frame on a car. If everything is structured appropriately, the door's shut, you have aerodynamics, and that car works wonderfully. If you're out of balance, the doors won't shut, the wheels are going to wobble, and your alignment will be off. Soft tissue work is just as important as resistance training and zone-based cardio to your overall evolution. Learning how to create and develop a great relationship with your food and body requires now that you move past just the eating and exercising. To evolve, you have to address the psychosocial emotional aspects of who you are and what's holding you back. I recently sat down with best-selling author David Robson, and we discussed the power and impact that the mind has at crafting what we want in life. What his research found was that our expectations make a profound difference in the results that we get in life. That's why my coaching model is based not just on food and nutrition. You see, over the years, I've coached and spoken to hundreds, if not thousands, of leaders about the power of mindset in our evolution. And I'm here to tell you that if we don't address how you view your life, your body, and the interaction it has with all of the 6 C's, you will not achieve a long-term evolution. And when it comes to why people fail to make changes, I see 3 things that create some speed bumps along the way. The first is how we interact with food in all situations. The second is the hidden beliefs that we've picked up over the years relative to food, movement, and our bodies. These are the stories that don't align with growth and success. Number 3 is the dissociation that we have with our bodies. And what do we do when the stressors begin to rise? Oh my gosh, Steve, I was so stressed last night. I had an entire tub of broccoli, said no one ever. To elicit an evolution, you must do 3 things. Number 1, understand your history with your full body, your food, pain, and discomfort. Number 2, you need to address your emotional intelligence and your neurological type. And finally, you need to develop a progressive plan focused on building habits with a consistent step-up mentality while utilizing daily progress reports, monthly and quarterly key performance indicator reports. And as a bonus, I would say you need to craft specific SOPs or standard operating procedures for your health, fitness, and lifestyle. You will not evolve if your plan involves your work, your family, or if your plan does not involve your work, your family, your service demands, and addresses the decreased recovery capacity that we get as we age, i.e., you're not in college anymore, Bob. Now, as we wrap up, I want to challenge you. I want you to take charge. I want you to be accountable. If something resonated with you, don't wait. Get moving. You only get one life and one body. As Warren Buffett has said, your body is like a car. You can pick just about any car you want, but it has to last you your entire life. So with that in mind, what would you buy and how would you take care of it? Now, I'm curious if there was something that resonated with you. Drop a comment, will you? What was your biggest takeaway? And if you're ready to evolve, let's talk about what those next steps look like. So how do you get started? Well, the first thing is simple. Reach out to me and let's book a bottleneck identification call. A bottleneck identification is called is where we talk about what your goals are, what's worked in the past, what hasn't worked, and where's your current bottleneck. If we decide that there might be a good fit, we'll set up a second call where we do a strategy. That's where I present a custom strategy plan to you, and you'll start on your path of personal evolution. I want to thank you for watching the masterclass today. I hope some things resonated with you. If we never get a chance to talk again, I hope that something here you will take in your life to evolve to the next level. If something did resonate with you, I'd love to chat with you. Let's talk soon. Have a great day. And as I say on the podcast, and now it's time for you to get out there and evolve.